We have a way out. You know, we have a way out.
Indeed.
If we can have another referendum.
Not if, Jason, not if.
Oh, no. Well, of course, everything's if. Everything is sort of provisional, you know, where it happens as it happens in real time. Things can or cannot happen. Of course, we want a referendum, but, you know, you being the Nostradamus of the independence movement, you have a date, you know, with a hashtag.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to ask you is, how did you come to this date, and why is that date important?
I came to the date by a perfectly rational process. It's not that difficult to whittle it down. Simple things like we always in the UK for about the past 100 years or so, votes are always held on a Thursday. So you know there's the other 6 days of the week are out right away. So a big chunk of the year gone. And things like the preference for spring and autumn rather than winter and summer for obvious reasons, weather and holidays and such like. So by that process, and then you take into account of other major events, other elections, etc., you can quite easily whittle it down. And I started this process, I started thinking about this almost immediately after the no vote in 2014, because it was obvious that while we had to accept the vote, I mean, no won. So we had to accept that, obviously, but that democracy is a process, not an event. So whilst accepting the result, we didn't have to accept it as a settled matter. And it couldn't be a settled matter, not the way the no vote was won. It was won on a totally false prospectus. So I immediately started thinking about what is the earliest date that we can possibly have another referendum. And I came up with a date. I did the rough calculations and I came up with a date, and that date was Thursday the 20th of September 2018. Then, what was it, June 23rd, 2016, EU referendum. Scotland voted 62% to 38% to remain, but that doesn't matter because we're part of the UK, and that means that our vote doesn't count. And so we're being taken out of the EU against our will. So I obviously thought that must have implications for this date that I so carefully worked out. They've gone and ruined it. And I've got to do it all over again, which I did. But this time thinking about what is the latest date rather than the earliest date. How long can we hang on before we must have a referendum and must secure a yes vote? And it simply worked out by coincidence that that date turned out to be exactly the same, Thursday, 20th of September 2018. And this is because of the constitutional implications of Brexit, as I just spoke about, the need or the opportunity to constitutionally redefine the UK and thereby constitutionally redefine Scotland's status within the UK, and thereby put various impediments and obstacles in the way of Scotland exercising its right of self-determination and breaking out of the Union. The intention will be to lock Scotland into the Union, and we have to escape this fate by September of this year because of what happens in October. There was interestingly recently, a few weeks ago, David Mundell, in a press statement, I think it was, which was supposed to be a sort of a promotional piece for the ill-fated Scottish Tory conference. that was called off by the weather. But he issued this press statement when he was banging on about the way he does. He was banging on about that Sturgeon wanting to force another referendum on us in September. We all know she wants to force another referendum on us in September. I know that's not a very good impression of David Mundell, but you get the point. I mean, you immediately think, oh, hang on a minute, why has he settled on September? Why does he think it's an imperative for the Scottish Government to allow the people to exercise their right of self-determination in September 2018? Why? Well, perhaps it's because he knows what the British government intends to do in October 2018. Because October is when all the pieces of the Brexit jigsaw puzzle, well, it's actually several jigsaw puzzles all jumbled up. This is all supposed to come together in October. When Nicola Sturgeon previously talked about the timetable and when we would know what the Brexit deal was, she was referring to this timetable by which the UK is supposed to put all its cards on the table, as it were. Well, it doesn't actually have any cards, but the wee bits of paper with hearts and spades drawn on them. They all go on the table in October. But it's not March 29th next year that's the important date. It's October of this year. That's when it's all supposed to be finalised, because there is then a period allowed for the ratification of this deal by all 27 member states. So everything sort of has to solidify, has to come to a head in October of this year. And it's at that point that the process of locking Scotland into this benighted union really begins to take effect. If we do not hold a referendum in September, on or around Thursday the 20th of September this year, and if we fail to vote yes, then that process will start in October, and at any point after that, it just gets increasingly difficult. There will be more and more obstacles put in the way of us ever being able to have a referendum again. So that is why, that is how and why. That's the whole story.
So we're on track and it's happening, and we've no reasons to be pessimistic about this?
Absolutely none. No, we should be concerned. We should be very worried. This is a very real assault on Scotland's democracy that's taking place. But we certainly have no reason to be pessimistic, and it certainly the indications are there that it's happening. You know, if your ears are tuned to the political music. The Scottish Government have been gradually ramping up the rhetoric on this. Mike Russell is openly talking about the constitutional threat of the opposed by the Brexit process. Although it should be emphasised that it's not just the Brexit process. This would be happening anyway. If it wasn't Brexit, it would be something else. The British state, these one-nation British nationalists, had resolved to get Scotland locked into the Union anyway. They want an end to this democratic dissent in Scotland. They want an end to our distinctive political culture. It would be happening anyway. Brexit has simply provided the opportunity. So all the sounds, all the noises that we're hearing coming out of the Scottish Government seem to be gradually building towards this short, sharp campaign late summer, early autumn of this year. That's the way I read it anyway, and yeah, take from that what you will. And as far as the Yes movement is concerned, I've just finished. I've just been with you in Loch Gilphead with a group of people, not all Yes activists by any means. There were people there who were not previously involved in the Yes movement, and then never, as far as I can make out, attended any of these meetings before. Now that was actually a meeting about iScot magazine, but there was no way to prevent the subject coming round to the political situation and the constitutional situation. And as I was saying, I'd just come back from a 2-week tour all over the Highlands and Islands, not all over, but visiting a number of places, from Aberdeen to Portree and up to Thurso and Kirkwall and Lerwick. And I was meeting with groups there, and no, I didn't come away from any of these meetings feeling pessimistic. So, on the one hand, we have the British government doing what it's doing, creating the context for this referendum. We have the Scottish government clearly preparing for some action to defend Scotland's Parliament and democratic institutions. And then we also have the Yes movement very clearly prepared for the campaign and building towards it. There's a thrum in the air. Different from what we had in the sort of 2012, 2013, 2014 period, but there is still this feeling there that something has to happen. This cannot go on. This process cannot be allowed to continue. At some point we have to say, no, no further. This is it. It has to stop here. We value what we have and we want to keep it, and we will not see it taken from us. We will defend our Parliament, we will defend our democracy, and the only way to do that is to dissolve the Union.
Peter Abel, it has been a privilege. Travelling over the west of Scotland with you over the past 2 days has just been, it's been magnificent, and it's been great for this opportunity to talk to you.
It's been fun, Jason.
Thank you very much. How are we? Thanks for that, Peter. That was brilliant.